before I turn, we eventually walk into 16. The Bible says it is sown and it is sown. 15:43. It is sown and it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. And so it is written in the verse, man Adam became a living being, the last Adam became a life-giving spirit. 46.
However, the spiritual is not the first, but the natural, and afterwards the spiritual. The first man was on earth, made of dust. The second man is the Lord from heaven. As was the man of dust, so also are those who are made of dust. And as is the heavenly man, so also are those who are heavenly.
49.
Sure will.
15, verse 15, 49. You got it? I read it.
And as we have borne the image of the man of dust, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly man. Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood do not inherit the kingdom of God, nor does corruption inherit incorruption.
Listen, I tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep, but we will all be changed in a flash, in a twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed. For the perishable must clothe itself with the imperishable, and the mortal with immorality.
54.
So when the corruptible should have put on incorruption, this mortal should have put on immorality. Then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is your sting? O grave, where is your victory?
This is where we're at, guys. 55, 56. 56. And we hung up on it for just a little bit. I remember even Sheena reading, "O death, where is your sting?" And we said then, "O death is what? Death represents what?" We're going to take this off, Lord. Death represents sin.
Yeah.
So death represents sin. We're fine. We got it on.
Yeah. I'm disturbed.
We're fine. Okay.
That
So
was
then-
smile, though.
Yeah, that's what I want. I said I thought eventually I thought we was going to lose him too. I said, so we'll probably lose her next week. So death equals what? Sting.
Sin.
So, I mean, it equals sin, right? Death equals sin, right? So he says, "Oh death, where is your what?" He says, "Oh death, where is your what?" So let's see. Guys, I'm almost sure Revelation 20. Revelation 20. Everybody have 1 Corinthians, your lesson. You may not have 15, but you do have 16, right? When we go right on into 16. You have 16 too, Teresa? 16. Lenny, do you have 16? If not, can you make sure that they do want to? Make sure that they Ruby wrote it right into it. So 15 and 16. Sheena, you have 15 and 16? And 16. Okay. Everybody else? So then what is sting? If we got death as sin, and what is sting?
He said,
What
"Well,
is
we can
sting?
stand in the power."
It's power of what though? Power of what?
Well,
No, power of pain. It's the power of pain. That's what it is. So you've got sting. Yeah, sting. You've got the power of pain. So you've got death. So you've got death, which equals what? Sin, right? So then if death equals sin, then, or is it sin equal death? Yeah, you got it. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? I thought that sounded strange, but I went along with it, Lord.
You said
Okay, so
death equals.
sin equals death is what it does. Sin equals death, else we would not die. If death would not exist if there was no sin. So then we got that, right? So then watch it. Your Revelations 20 says what? 12.
2012.
2012, Steve said what? Oh, Lord.
Should I read?
Because he's so Lord.
Well, I can wait for Steve.
Or you can wait. You have patience. You have Galatians 5:22.
And I have self-control too. Don't start me today. You know me, I won't go on out. Come on, Steve.
Go ahead.
I know you're not messing with Galatians 5.
2012.
Which is where it says, and the Bible says.
Okay.
Again, okay, 2012.
Uh-huh.
And I saw it dead. I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God.
Yes.
And the books were open.
Yes.
And another book.
I just
was
said
opened.
something real quick, like, and eventually I will go into it and explain it more when we get into the book of Revelations. I know Teresa can't wait for us to get into the book of Revelations. But he says this real quick, like, Steve, I'm just going to pull up for a minute. He says, and I saw the dead, right? He says, great and small. He says, and I saw the dead. He says, what? Great and small. He says, and I saw the dead, what? Great and small. Who's the dead? 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 The dead is, who's the dead? Who's
Sin.
The dead? The dead is sin, right? So if the dead is sin, then watch this. Then, let's see. He said, then I saw the dead. Then I saw the dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I saw the dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I told you dead is sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then who is it not? Who is it not for? Who is it not for? Who is it not for? Who is not for who? For believers, the saints. I love that word, saints. It's not for saints. It's not for saints. You need to see this because I told you a lot of times when you read the Revelation, you don't understand it, and you just run through it. So you think he's talking about the dead. You say he is talking about the dead. You say great and small. You think he's talking about everybody. You think he's, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure that what Steve won't admit it, but he felt the same thing. He said the same thing. We'll get him later on, okay? But that's really where it's at. So now what do you have? You got to watch this. He says the dead, great and small, guys. That's not believers who are standing before him. That's sinners. You know what that is?
Judgment.
That is equal, hello, equal. That equals, one time. That then equals what?
He's talking about the judgment. What do you mean?
Equals death.
What's your
That
question?
equals second death.
Second.
Oh, second.
Second death.
Oh, the judgment. That's just the second death. Right.
Death.
Yeah.
Remember, do the saints need to be judged?
No.
1 Corinthians 6 said the saints will do what? Judge the world. How are you going to be judged and you judging the world? You're judging the world, so the saints will judge the world. So then, and I know you're writing that down. So you need to see that. That's why I told you, I'm not to cut you off, Steve, on this, but I know a lot of times we've read that and failed to understand. That's the second death.
Amen.
The first death, when you fell asleep, you resurrected. You rose again.
That's right.
But he speaks of a second death. Well, those that really did die, that's Luke 16, those that really did die, and the rich man, right, he went to the Hadean world, right? Back to your 1 Corinthians 15. Don't keep your hand on Revelation. 1 Corinthians 15, 55 says, "O death, where is your sting? O Hades." See it? O Hades, see it? Where is your victory? O Hades, where is your victory? Well, that's what he's saying. Hades, then it's your second death. I mean, your first death. Y'all messing me up. See?
Hades the first name.
Hades then is the first death. Hades then is the first death. You got to see that. Hades is The first dance. You hear something, they went to the Haitian world. No, I didn't. I didn't go to no Haitian world. I went to Abraham's bosom. I didn't go to no Haitian world. Haitian world was for those that have actually experienced something. When they was rolling down here, when we was rolling that gasket down here, they was dead. They really were dead. Those that refuse to make a transition in their lives, I can't say it enough. This is how serious it is. You think as we get older, we would really think on that and take it a whole lot more serious. We work on changing our attitude. We work on changing our behavior. Why? Because you're closer to death than you've ever been. So you would think you'd work on it. I don't know about you. I said, I'd probably drive in reverse, get down here on the freeway. if you imagine what I'm saying. But this is how serious you would start to take it. Wait a minute. So this is a serious thing, yes. And yet you see the same old thing. You see same old people dragging in. They drag out. When the sermon's over with, they're gone. They don't hang around the fellowship, but so they're saying, well, you don't understand because I'm a saint. Then I'm going to enter into the kingdom of heaven. Well, Hebrews, the 6th chapter. The 6th chapter says it ain't for everybody. But anyway, Steve, back in Revelations, he said what?
Back in Revelation says what?
It didn't say what. It did not say that. Okay? He came up with his own revelation. Okay? Yeah.
And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. And the books were open. And another book was open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged.
Where you guys at? I'm sorry.
12. Revelations 20:12. 20:12.
2012.
He said, Steve, you said, and another book was open, right?
Yeah, it says.
He said another book was open, right? Listen.
Which is the book of life.
And then there's the book of life. So what is the book of life?
The Bible.
What else is it going to judge you by?
The Bible.
That lifestyle.
What else is that? What? And it's built around what? That's all you got. Don't you judge me on anything else. I don't have anything else to work with. Well, I got the book of life. Okay, what is the book of life? Well, it's going to tell about that. Wait a minute. I only had this book. This is all I had to work with, God. You mean there's another book? He says, no, here's the book of life. Watch this. This is to gear, to control, to dictate, to tell you how to live your life. When you don't want to live according to this, then you don't want to see the book of life. I can't say it enough. This is where he's at. This is it. You don't have to worry about him pulling out somebody, I'm going to do a test, and then the teacher pull out another book. What the heck is that?
If you haven't been living according to what the Bible teaches you,
Right.
just like basic instructions on earth.
Right.
So that book on that day is going to speak against you because you haven't done it.
You got it. Right. I like your terminology against you. Now the book is going to speak. Your life, the book. Your life, the book. Does it compare? Does it compare? What do you mean? Because your life, the book, your life, the book. So I want you to just see this. Your life, the book.
Does your life take in your works?
Yes. So watch this. Your life, the book. Does it equal grace? Does it equal grace? Did you hear me? Does it equal grace? Because if you say my life, then I'm dealing with my life, then what I'm saying is then it's on my works. Right? If that's the case, then it's on my works. When it ain't on my works, It's on what?
Grace.
It's on the unmerited favor, grace. It's on grace. But I can't remove the book, right? But I can't remove the book because the book was what was giving me this unmerited. I wouldn't even know what unmerited favor is, right? That was a lesson. I got it out of the book. So then I know that it is God's grace that saves me. No, it's my works that save me. You got it. I heard somebody say,
No.
See what I'm saying? So it's not my works that save me. Maybe that is the issue. Let's just, for a minute or two, let me just run this and then I'm going to get back out to the book. Is that okay? I'm asking the class, is it okay if I do that? Well, then watch this. Because you're saying, when we say my works, right? Because you heard him say he will judge you by your deeds or by works, right? So then if this is...
That's Romans 2:6. Who will render to every man according to his deeds.
Okay.
That's what confuses people.
Right.
Because they base like that. Well, that's based on my works.
Well, it is based
Right.
upon your works.
Right.
So the Bible doesn't remove it. It is based upon your works. But your works are based upon Matthew 25. Did you hear me? Steve, you know nothing about what? But your works is on Matthew 25. Lord, when did I do these things? Lord, when did I feed you? Lord, when did I clothe you? Lord, when did I visit you? You might have me find Matthew. When did I do all these things?
You did it unto my
He said, well, you've done it to the least of my brothers.
did it
Brothers
unto
and
me.
brothers and sisters.
Right.
He says that you've done it to me. Yes.
You know, I was just thinking the correlations in your fruit of your spirit, your character, the person that you are, under Christ, you're going to act out the fruit of those spirits.
If that's who you are.
If that's who you are.
Right,
So
right.
all the works that we do as Christians
Are
is
built on
built on our character.
You got it. But watch this. So then the character needs to be rebuilt. Right? So then our character needs to be rebuilt. Our problem is not who we are. It's what we don't know. And when we get to know it, when do we make the transition to changing? I don't care how much I talk to you all, how much I push it in your head, until you want to change. There's nothing I can
Transforming
do.
of the mind.
That's right, until you want to renew your mind. There's nothing I can pour it in you. I can talk to you all summer, all day long, until you're ready. It's the same way with an alcoholic. It's the same way with a person that has drugs. You can send them to all the AAs you want to send them to. You can send them to all the housing that you want to send them to. Until they're ready to change, they will remain addicts. Until they're saying, you're right, I've had enough of it. This is what God is trying to get us to see. Haven't you had enough of this? I don't know about you all, I'm not suicidal, but a lot of times I ask God, I've had enough. You can pull the plug, I'm tired. You can let it go, Lord, you can take me home now. And I'm not suicidal, so please
I
understand.
understand what you're saying.
Okay, please understand. But I'm saying, enough's enough. Lord, I know you got me down here for a reason. Jesus made the statement, not his will, but his will be done. Well, that's why I said stop and think about it. So watch this. You're saying the works that you do, you don't realize that if they're good works, a lot of times I do things and I'm saying, so where is the pay? I go through all this, I do all of this, and I get zero behind it. That's the flesh. That's the man that's talking. When God is saying, I see everything you do, and I will reward you for everything you do. But watch this. But do you want your reward? Or do you want it? You see what I'm saying? Or when do you want it? And I said, I'll take the now and later. I'll take the later. I'll take it. Y'all remember now and later?
Now we got-
Y'all old, Lord, y'all old.
It's just a candy. It's just a candy. It's just a candy.
I ain't got no teeth then.
Buddy.
Hey, wait, remember, used to melt it?
No, I went back there. I went back
I had teeth now. I chewed them, but I don't have none of them. Go ahead, guys.
Oh, you found it? Where is it at?
So, Matthew 25, so
Matthew 25.
42 says, for I was hungry.
No, God, take me straight there.
You want to go up?
Yeah, right where it says, well, Lord, when did I do these things? It's Matthew 25.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it goes up to them. And then shall the king say to them on his right hand, come and be blessed, my Father, and inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. And then, 35 says, for when I was home, you gave me meat. Now, we need to go up, Father.
That's it. That's it. You gave me meat.
Okay. When I was hungry, and you gave me meat, I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. And then it says, then shall the righteousness answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we you hungry, and fed you, or thirsty, and gave you drink?
Wow.
When saw we you a stranger and took you in, or naked and clothed you? Or when saw we, this is King James, you sick, or in prison, and came to you? And the king shall answer and say to them, very, very, I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it to one of the least of these my brethren, you have done it to me.
That's it. And what did Jesus say to guys in Matthew, I think it's either Matthew 5 or 6, he says, be careful, because you may be what? Entertained. So somebody that you may have visited that was sick, somebody that you fed, and watch this, and it was all it was God testing you. It really was an angel that's really not hungry, an angel that's really not sick, an angel that's really not, watch this, homeless, but I gave the appearance of this is what I look like, but in reality, I was smiling through this. Now somebody would say, so then I need to give to the homeless every time I'm out. God also gives you wisdom. The ability to discern. The ability to recognize somebody running around here with Timberlands and a nice shirt and a $200 pair of jeans. Okay? And you don't recognize it, but they run around here and all you got to do is look. And it's not dirty, it's clean. Because common sense, use a little wisdom. I told you I did this one day. I said, well, over by my house, the young lady was walking up and down the cars, asking. I didn't check her parents. If I had checked her parents, then I would have saw something ain't right with this. But I told you I went to pick up the wife. I felt so sorry for her. I stopped, gave her something, and then drove on. I came back and my wife needed to stop at Food for Less. You know Food for Less. Stop at Food for Less. I pulled in the thing and that show looked like the girl. I said, no, that can't be. I said, my wife said, why are you looking at her? I mean,
Be careful little eyes what you see.
But watch this. But if you start thinking, negative, you understand what I meant by she looks good.
Right.
Hello, I ran that one by you, okay? So she looks good, what do you mean? Is that the same lady? She's dressed in black. She's dressed very nice. She goes to an SUV that's newer than mine. Okay, she's talking to a gentleman. I'm still not sure if that's her till I see her get her little sign and go take off with me. I said, well, I will be. That is her.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So you have to be careful. I just said you have to be careful. I think one day we were driving, right? And somebody pulled up beside us came into the gas station, remember? Came in the gas station, got out, walked straight over to us and said, can you give me money for some gas? Just that quick. That's the game.
Yeah, that's the game now.
That's the game. I just run right up here and look, I ain't paying for no gas. I run up here and ask somebody to give me gas. And you thinking, you feeling sorry for the person when God has given you discernment. Stop using, you know what feelings do? God has told us we're not to rely on these things, feelings, the heart. We're not to rely on it. He said it was what? Deceitful and wicked. And so you're using this to make a judgment call when it shouldn't have been used to make a judgment call in the first place. So I thought I'd just drop that on you and then we get back to where we were. Because I told you in Revelations, and I'm going to go ahead, Steve. He says in Revelations 20 verses 13, the sea gave up the dead who were in it. And the dead and the dead and you see this? And the dead and Hades. See it in 13? In your Bibles? The dead and Hades delivered up the dead who were in them, and they were judged each one according to his works. Remember, I told you Hades is a part of death. So when he goes, when the judgment comes, God don't have to pull up death and then come over and pull up Hades. They're together. They work hand in hand. So he's got them both, yes.
A question. So death is a being. Is Hades a place?
Yes, Hades is a
Okay.
place.
Oh, okay.
And so watch, so he's going to pull them both up. Because death is what?
It's
Sin.
It's sin.
Sin, right? The results of sin, right? Thank you. But that's exactly what it is. So then, watch what he says, and we're going to finish it. He says, then death and Hades were cast into the lake of fire. And it says what?
The lake of fire is the second death.
Uh-oh. Did you hear it? So I was right. He says, then this is the second death. So I was right. I told you this is not pertaining to believers. Because believers never die. So this isn't believing. I had to talk to a brother one day in the parking lot. Me and your husband were out there talking for the longest. You probably was wondering when he was going to come home that day. That's how long it was. And we were sitting out there debating. And he swore up and down. No. This is everybody. I said, no, it's not. He said, yes, this is everybody. I said, no, brother. This is strictly those that don't believe. This is the second death. He says, no. I said, keep reading. He finally got there and said, the second death. I said, this is the second death. So there was a death. There is a place where death has to go. It has to go into the ADN world. It has to go where Jesus showed you, Luke 16. He told you there was a rich man, and the rich man was just begging for what? Just a drop of water. He told you that rich man was in so much pain. Guys, we fussing. Hear me, we fussing. You all just walked into this room. Wasn't it a difference when you just walked in here? Wasn't it much cooler? Stop and think about it. Can you imagine? And this is no heat compared to the heat that God is going to give. Watch this. The man was so dried out that all he needed was just give me a drop. So dehydrated. Just give me a drop. Dehydrated and you still can't die. Hear me now. Dehydrated and you still can't
You still can't die, but yet you still. But boy, if I could just get a little water, just give me a drop. Can you imagine the pain that he's talking about? The suffering that he's talking about. That's why I say, keep playing this game. You know, this is the way I do things. I told you that transition has got to take place in your life. The renewing of the mind has got to take place in your life. If it doesn't take place, God ain't going to change his mind on this. And not only is he not going to change his mind on it, but did you know God does not want to hear your moaning, your groaning, your whining, your hollering, your screaming, your, oh, I'm feeling bad. Did you know God don't want to hear any of that? Did you know if you read farther on, did you know? And he's going to cast it away. What do you mean? It's the idea God puts his foot on it and says, hey, go. I don't even want it near this place. Push it out into the atmosphere. Into wherever it lands, let it land. Who cares? It's trash. Whatever it hits, who cares what it hits? However it rips those bodies apart, who cares? Because when God can cast it where he can't hear it. Hello. When God can cast it where he can't hear it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? That's your second death. I don't have to hear you anymore. But that pain, that agony, that suffering, that because I didn't take you serious enough, God, these things have taken place. Because if I had have taken you serious, then I'd understand 1 Corinthians 15. That's where we were. Then I'd understand this resurrection is for both parties. But one will resurrect in peace. The other will resurrect in pain. Guys, stop and think about it. He's given you a reversal of things. You don't get it. Yeah, I know you didn't see it. The rich man was doing what? Having it his way when he was here, right?
Yes.
Everything was his way. Lazarus was what? Suffering. He was begging. He was suffering is what he was doing. He don't know where his next meal is going to come from. He was suffering. Let's deal with the elements, the heat. Let's deal with the elements, the cold, where they're located. It would you to get both of those. Let's deal with the lack of clothing that beggar would have. Let's deal with what is the pain and agony. He can't go to the doctors to get a tooth repaired. He can't. You see what I'm saying? He can't do any of the above. This is whatever he's got is what he's got. He's got to deal with this. Watch this. Put it back into the layman's terms. Put it back into Christian, where we should. Let's see. If you're not going through suffering, then you better check your Christianity out.
Come on.
You better check your Christian walk out. If you're not having to suffer, then you better check your walk out. Something's wrong. Because if you're not, because everything is just beautiful for you, you're not having any problem. Let's say I eat when I want to eat. Let's say I sleep when I want to sleep. Let's say I clothe when I want to clothe. If you're not going through any suffering for Christ, because the last time I checked, in Hebrews 12 chapter, last time I checked, he chastises those. Last time I checked. Okay? If you ain't going through,
then you are illegitimate and a bastard.
that's what he said. That's what you call it. That's why you ain't getting no punishment. That's why not, because this is your world. This is your enjoyment. You are enjoying this world. But in the next world, you will suffer. And that one that loved Christ, that one that you call the nerd of all nerds, the one that you said he's a Jesus freak, the one that you say every time, oh Lord, if you come around, guess what? They're going to talk Jesus. It ain't going to. That one is now, well, see the reversal? That's the reversal. That one will now live in peace. That one will now enjoy life. You see how serious this is? So then watch this. Watch. Huh?
I just said the least will be first.
That's right. So your Bible says in 1 Corinthians 15:56, the sting of death is what? Sin. See? The sting of death is what? Sin. I said sting is what? Sin. Power of what? It's the power of pain. So watch this. You don't even know you're in pain.
You don't know it then.
Did you hear me? I'm trying to get you to see something. You've been living down there so long in such a contaminated, filthy place, you don't even see it that way. You know, you got a home, you think everything is all right. You living in all kind, it's stinking, but you think, oh yeah, I'm all right. Everything is okay. You hear me? This is where we're in a corrupt world. This world is so corrupt that death is dying, it's killing you, it's producing a stench. I told you, me and my wife, we finally, that rat that was running around, you know, I finally got enough of that little stuff out, and guess what? And he finally bit into one, and I thought it was some mildewed clothes. I told her, I said, but I'm looking at the clothes, I'm like, no, the clothes ain't no clothes out here for it to be mildewed. I says, all I could think of was that it's that something has died in here. And we need to get it, I think, for 2 or 3 days, right, Renee? That smell just went on. Somebody told me 3 days and then it'll go, that's bull. It keeps going, okay? And so I finally pulled out I've got a grinding wheel and a compressor. I know y'all know what that is, you do. But you do. I know, and you do. I know you know what that is. So I pulled it out, and that's sure enough, there he was, dead in the doorbell. I said, let's get him up, let's get him out here. When we got him out, I was at the place starting to smell a whole lot better. Watch this. When he gets it out, the place will smell a whole lot better. When Christ gets rid of this junk, watch this. That's why he said in your Revelation 21, a new heaven, a new earth. When he finally says, oh, I'm tired of this stench. Whoa, this sin, this stinking up the storm. Let's hurry up, get rid of it's the bodies that's causing this. It's these dead bodies that's causing this. Hurry up, Jesus, pull the lid. You got them all, pull the lid, put the padlock on, and let's shove it where we'll never smell it again. And in the meantime, you're saying, Lord have mercy, I'll do better than next time. Lord, you're right. You're right. There is a God. Lord, hey, amen. Lord, I praise you. I'll beg with you. And somebody else next to you says, shut up, fool. This is old. We over with. We done. Ain't nothing we can do about this. We just have to live with this. You say, no, that's not true. Oh, yes, that is. Matthew 24 will prove that. Oh, yes, that is. You got one person that says, hey, you know what, I'm sorry. The next person that says, you know what, forget him. You know, if you don't want to save us, then forget him. That's why God says, I'm not going to put up with it. I don't have to hear it, and neither will my saints, my brothers and sisters. He says in your 21:4, he says, what? He says what? 21:4, he says what? And God shall what? Revelation, wipe away all. What do you mean? Tears. It smells something so bad that it brings tears to your eyes. Hear me? Smell something so bad that it brings tears to your eyes. You must ain't been around something that stinks that bad. But I'm serious. Smell something so bad that tears roll out your eyes. You're like, Lord have mercy. This is what it's talking about. Your Bible says, you would read it, says what? 21:4 says what?
And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain.
Hear it? No crying, no pain. Hear it? I got rid of it all. And watch this. And you don't get it. You entered into the kingdom of heaven. You don't get it. Remember, Luke showed you. Luke showed you that they were in the same place. Luke showed you that they were in the same place. God says, and you can't remember your mother. You can't remember your grandmother. You can't remember your cousin. You can't remember your uncle that did not make it. You said, no. I can't have you crying, remembering because they didn't make it. So what do? I got to renew your mind. So what do? wipe away your memory. I completely wipe your memory.
I was just gonna say, so does that mean it's the opposite for those who are perishing? Do they remember?
Do the parents? Yes. They remember everything. Yeah, because I remember that's trash. Do you do anything to help trash? Why should God do anything to help trash?
They gonna regret. They gonna
You're right. So, oh my goodness, sister. So Teresa was right. She made it. Oh my goodness. Maybe if I could talk to Teresa, they'll remember everything. You won't remember.
Dr. Richard?
Only thing you remember is your 1 Corinthians, the 12th chapter. You are known as you were known. That's all you remember. I don't know what we will be dressed in, but I do know this much. I'll know you, Rob, when I get there. I know that. We'll be clothed in a different body, but I'll know you. That's it. Remember.
I understand this moment. But the rich man said to Abraham, he asked Lazarus, said Lazarus need to go and tell his brothers what.
Did he tell him?
Yeah.
That's your memory. What'd you say? There's your memory. There's your memory. Well, could you go back? Wait a minute. He's in another dimension, another world. I hate the world. Well, could you go back and tell my brothers? Tell them this place is real. Tell them not to come.
And his answer was?
We don't have to give this answer because God says
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about it. In a little bit, they won't remember either. You say, yeah, let me see. If I could take you back on some memory. Somebody, I had a childhood friend, his name was Charles. Remember I told him? Charles. I think I must have been 5 or 6 years old. And they found him dead. He drowned. And the last time I remember, I had given him my coat. The last time I remember. And so I was so hurt. But what else do I remember? Nothing else. So what do you mean? God slowly fades. But watch this. In your 21, he ain't going to slowly fade it. He's going to fade it. It's going to go. You ain't got time to worry about those folks that didn't make it when you're so happy to see the awesome one, the mighty one, to see that there really is a God. There really is a Theos, a supreme divinity. There really is a supreme divinity. Wow. You are just amazed at there's no sun, but this place is lit up. You are so amazed. I am this close to this sun, and it don't burn. You hear me? You are so amazed at, oh my God, this is really real. And I haven't, watch this, and I haven't taken you to your mansion yet. You hear me? You just amazed at what you see right now. You haven't even, I haven't even taken you to your place yet. You still, this is gold. This is gold. This is real. Wait a minute, and you looking, oh my God, and these, it really is how it gets. And, oh my, look at the beauty. It's got all these different stones in it. Just gonna touch it. Oh my God, this is awesome.
So peaceful.
And Jesus said, come on. But Jesus, this is just so, oh my God. Come on, but I gotta take, but Lord, I'm just, oh my God, this is so, but I'm trying to take you to your place. Lord, can I just, let me just stay here for a minute. I just gotta see this. This is awesome. Boy, come on, get up off your knees. Lord, I can't let you, I just got crazy all over. It's just, heard that word overwhelming? It's just overwhelming. I just felt like, I'm One side contamination, one side they get to see what they could have had. Oh, y'all need to hear me. One side they get to see what they could have had. Didn't that rich man see Lazarus? Didn't he see Abraham? Didn't he see it? You get to see it. And you can't go near it. And you can't come close to it. Oh my God, this is what I miss. Why don't you let me back in? I'll do right now. You don't understand. See, you made this battle me and you thing. When this battle was never a me and you thing. This battle was a Satan and God fight. But you got stuck in this Satan and God fight. You thought you could fight your battle. You turned against your brother or against your sister. You had hate against your brother or against your sister. You didn't like the way they, the way they did the walls in the church that day. You couldn't stand it. You didn't like how they cooked the food. You just held on to that animosity. You just said, I just can't stand it. And now you say, Lord, have mercy. Oh, by the way, I look up at that person that I couldn't stand. No, that ain't Teresa, that whom I couldn't stand. How in the world did she get up there? I couldn't stand her. That's why you can't come. Right. Because she already here. Right. Oh, y'all got to hear me. I mean, I knew we weren't going to get to 16.
That's why he said the dead buried the dead.
That's it. I like that. I like that. I like that. Let the dead bury the dead. So then watch this. 57 says the sting of death is sin and the strength of sin is the law. He says, watch this, and the strength of sin is the law. He says, so watch this. He says the sting of death then is sin, right? The sting of death, we already got dealt with that. The sting of death is sin. But then he says, and the strength of sin was built around something that you didn't think too much of. I said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. What is it? By the way, those commandments are law. But you didn't want to keep them. Oh, that ain't necessary. For a second, they said, he don't mean that. Did you hear me? You broke the law. Don't make disciples. I will when I feel like. You broke the law. He says, so guess what? That's why you're going to face the sting of death. That's why you will deal with death. That's why death is your friend. I told you, you've been in a place and the place stinks up a storm, but you don't get the second thoughts. I don't know about you all, but us athletes or folks running around back in the days, boy, you walk into the gym, they don't do like they do now. But you know what I'm talking about, back in the days when you walked into the gym, and men were in the gym, and men were working out, the place had an order, you didn't get second thoughts because it was men. Now it's mixed, men and women, so they want to make sure air fresheners and all these things are mixed. When you walked into the gym, baby, you knew it was a gym. You went in there strictly for what about the order? You weren't interested in the order. You was interested in the workout. Let me get the workout on. Now you're interested in, when I got to look cute, what you got? I'm going to buy me a new outfit to go to the gym. But you hear what I'm saying? So what are you saying? It's the idea of you don't even recognize contamination. You didn't even pay it no mind. Now watch this. That strength then is what? Of a sin is the law. 57 says this as we bring this to an end. But what?
But thanks be to God, which gives us.
Which gives what?
Gives
Can you write
us.
this on big, way up on top? Which gives, right on top is called us. Us are believers. Us are believers. He says, but thanks be to God who gives us
The victory.
You're going to hear this in my lesson today. Not everybody that runs around calling himself a saint or what God calls mature. Some saints are called carnal. We talked about that. I'm going to share it with you again this morning. You don't want to be that carnal saint. You want to be that faithful saint. I think it's very well. You want to be that faithful saint. I think you put them both on. I think I will. I think I will. Since I was But anyway. But watch this. But watch this. He says in 58, this is what we want to close with. He says 58 what?
Therefore, my beloved.
Therefore, he says, watch this. Therefore is a what? Therefore is a what? A continuation. It's a conjunction. So it's a continuation. His thought never changed. He's always been on the resurrection. He says, so therefore, my beloved. Come on.
Brother.
So therefore, my beloved. And then you say what? Brother. What is he talking about, guys? He's one no, but that beloved is something else.
Oh, yeah.
Beloved is special.
Right.
I heard Jesus, I heard the Father say, this is my beloved Son.
Oh, yeah.
Special.
Well,
He's special, baby. Oh, I love him. I love him to death. I just can't get enough of him. That's what the Father was saying. All y'all need to check him out. Check him out. He's your door of salvation. He's the only way you'll be able to enter into the kingdom of heaven. So watch this. He is now addressing us as beloved. As beloved brethren. Brethren is generic. It means brothers and sisters. So my beloved brethren, come on.
He says, be you.
He didn't say he said.
What's that?
He didn't say he said. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Therefore, my beloved brethren, be you steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of
Guys,
the
real
Lord.
quick, like us, I got in. He says steadfast, right? He says immovable, right? What is steadfast? Huh? You got it. What is steadfast? Immovable. So then what is he saying? He's driving home a point. He's driving home his point. Don't you dare move. You stop leaning on feelings and start leaning on Christ. Quit letting Christ ruin. Watch this. Quit letting your feelings ruin your relationship. Your feelings. Because your feelings will tell you why you don't like somebody. Your feelings will do that. So what do I do? Yeah, that's it. Your feelings will do just that. Take it to hell. Because watch this. Because your feelings are built around where you are, that's what your feelings are built around. And if I can't see it and I can't feel it, then it ain't there. And it is there. Something that's there and you don't even see it's there and you have to have it or you die. Y'all know what it is? Hello. It's there. Let it shut down and know how you will appreciate that. So I'm saying, let it stop and know how you appreciate it. But it ain't there. Okay. So let's shut it down since it ain't there. Watch this. You outside, right? You're outside, right? It's got a little breeze outside or a little movement. You may not see it, but the air is circulating, whether you know it or not. But you can't stand it out there right now because of that, how hot it is. So it's now hot air. That's what it is. You don't want hot air. You want cool air. So he says steadfast and unmovable. Guys, that means just sometimes you need to do this when you're getting in something that you ain't got no business or you're feeling about somebody that you don't feel good about. Just stand still still. Don't move, just stand still. They take you hours. Just stand still for hours. And you realize how stupid you look. And you realize I was mad. I was mad about something. And there was something I was upset about. All of a sudden, they checks out. Heard of this statement? That's why before you say something, heard of this one? Count to 10. You heard that one? Count to 10. That's what they're saying is, sometimes you just need to stand still. He told Moses, stand still. He told Joshua, stand still. He told him to stand still. He says, and then watch this. And then send them. Those that blow the trumpet, send them around the walls 7 times. But don't you move. You stand still. And they've never let the walls come down. Stop and think about it. Told Moses, I told you to stand still and lift up your arms. And every time Moses got tired and his arms started to go down, they start to lose. Remember, they start to lose. Sometimes God wants us to just stand still. Just be immovable. Just be steadfast. What do you mean? Be consistent with your walk in Christ. That's what he's saying. Just be consistent. Yeah, I know you're tired, but be consistent. Yeah, I know they said something you didn't like, but be consistent. You know what? Get past your feelings, but you know how they treated me. Get past your feelings. I made a statement, I think it was the other day, I think we were in the car together, me and my wife, and I had to tell her, the statement was made, well, you know, well, what about this? I said, let me explain something to you. If this person has asked for forgiveness, I must forgive. And then they do the same thing over. Well, they never ask forgiveness. How do you know? Why couldn't it have just been something that just came up again? Wait a minute. How many sins have you asked God to forgive you for? And then you repeat them. How many times have you did it? And then you repeat it. And you ask God to forgive you and he forgives you. I told you this suffering for a Christian is hard. The only reason why it's so hard is because you're so carnal-minded, so worldly-minded. Even Peter said, well, how many times shall I forgive my brother? And he says, 7 times. And Jesus said, what? How about times that you can't remember? What do you mean? How about we do 70 times 7? How about you're going to walk around with a chalkboard? Okay, that's 1. Okay, that's 2. You didn't get it. You see what I'm saying? But you see what I'm saying? Stop and think about it. And then your Matthew 7, out of all of that, says this, judge not. Because you got that board. Somebody got a board on you too. Well. Did you hear me? You got that board on them, and somebody's got a board on you too. Oh, you don't hear me? You got to stop and think about it. So, what do you mean? I told you I done went through some things here at this church. I done had some folks that didn't like me. I done had somebody, it don't matter when you came to me and asked me for forgiveness. I said, I forgive. And then I saw the same repeated thing. And then they came again and says, I forgive. And every time I said, I forgive you. And then not only do I forgive you, but I treat you just as if it didn't happen. That's that other person's problem. That ain't my problem. I'm going to treat you just as if it never happened because I told you and I'm done. Because I told you, because your Bible said, made it clear as a bell. He says in Revelation 20, he says, then the book of life was open. He said it was open. Guess what? So how did you live your life? What did you, wait a minute, you're so busy trying to judge Steve and look at you. You're so busy trying to get that little speck out of his eyes, and you got a boulder sitting in boulder. But you hear me? That, by the way, that's
Quite
the
the
Greek word.
boulder.
That is the Greek word, it's a boulder. So you got a boulder
Right.
sitting in yours. My time has expired. 16